Walk into any modern classroom and you'll quickly realize it is never truly silent. Between the relentless hum of the overhead projector, the drone of the HVAC system, and the rhythmic chatter of 25 students, the room generates a constant, chaotic tapestry of sound. For decades, the standard pedagogical response to this environment was simple: shut it down. Educators tried to control the auditory chaos through a strict, uncompromising demand for absolute silence. But true silence isn't a universally perfect learning state. For students managing conditions like tinnitus, a dead quiet room actually amplifies the persistent internal ringing they experience, turning a supposedly calm environment into a highly distracting one. Because absolute silence is impossible to achieve and actively counterproductive for some learners, measuring a room's health by how quiet it is misses the point. Simple volume control cannot be the baseline for a healthy learning environment. To accurately evaluate an auditory learning space, we have to look at this diagram. It illustrates the signal-to-noise ratio. The signal is the primary source of instructional information you actually want to hear. That might be a teacher's voice delivering a lesson. But the noise is everything else. It is the ambient room hum and incidental chatter that constantly expands to compete for the brain's processing power. When that background noise gets too loud, the brain has to work incredibly hard to filter out the distractions. It expends massive amounts of continuous energy just to isolate the target information. This relentless, subconscious filtering drains cognitive resources. It creates severe cognitive fatigue, turning the acoustic environment into a primary, invisible barrier to learning for everyone in the room. Once background noise crosses a specific threshold, it drives pupils past distraction and directly into a state of severe sensory overstimulation. Take a look at this cross-section of a human ear. For individuals with a condition called hyperacusis, the auditory pathway processes everyday classroom sounds as painfully loud. A sudden burst from a fire alarm, a screeching whistle, or the collective roar of a busy canteen overloads their sensory processing. These sharp spikes can cause hypersensitive students to emotionally or physically shut down. To mitigate this, schools use a strategy called acoustic softening. Adding physical elements like heavy rugs, soft furnishings, and textured wall panels dampens the harsh echo chamber effect of hard-surfaced rooms. Implementing these physical interventions alongside dedicated quiet zones empowers students. It allows them to manage their own sensory needs without being exiled from the shared learning space. The most common sound in any classroom is the teacher's voice. It is the primary tool for instruction, but it's also an incredibly fragile acoustic signal. Attempting to constantly project over escalating ambient room noise takes a severe physical toll. Occupational voice loss is heavily prevalent among educators who spend their days shouting to be heard. Protecting that vital resource requires vocal economy. Modulating the pitch and pace of delivery naturally pulls a student's attention back to the lesson, much more effectively than simply cranking up the volume. Teachers can also conserve vocal energy during routine transitions by replacing spoken instructions entirely. A simple hand signal or a small desk chime communicates the next step without adding any more to the auditory clutter. This precision is critical as the number of students experiencing hearing loss continues to rise. To track a lesson successfully, these learners require crisp instructional clarity rather than simply increased volume. Processing fragmented audio input is exhausting work. Supplementing spoken instructions with clear visual anchors on the board reduces the immense listening effort required by hard-of-hearing students to piece together information. Boosting the primary signal requires strategic clarity and multisensory support. That approach preserves the teacher's vocal cords while simultaneously preventing student listening fatigue. Sound doesn't always have to be subtracted. Educators can actively deploy audio as a strategic pedagogical tool, rather than just dampening it. Curated soundscapes, like the steady hum of white noise or low-frequency beats, act as an acoustic blanket. They smoothly mask intrusive external sounds and help guide classroom transitions. Here we can see a model of language processing. Music is a popular tool, but tracks with complex lyrics directly disrupt a student's language processing centers during intense reading or writing tasks. The strict rule for strategic audio is alignment. The auditory input must perfectly match the specific cognitive load of whatever task the students are doing. Proper acoustic curation means treating sound as a building block. You use it to actively construct mental focus, rather than letting erratic noise accidentally destroy it. We have to move past the punitive shushing culture that has traditionally defined classroom management. Managing sound is a matter of accessibility. It dictates how each individual, teacher or student, processes information and manages their emotional well-being. This is the core of an auditory-aware pedagogy. It asks teachers to treat the acoustic landscape as a critical resource that needs to be intentionally designed, day in and day out. Applying this philosophy means acknowledging the physical limitations of the room's architecture, alongside the unseen neurodivergent needs of the students sitting in it. A truly inclusive classroom balances these factors. It provides